Hello, and a warm welcome to this week's video update. My name's Scott. I'm the Market Insight and Flex Manager here, and this is edition number 11 now of the weekly updates. So whether this is your first or 11th, thank you for dialing in. I'm going to go through the weekly market changes and see what's been driving the markets over the last week. As always, we'll focus in on gas and power prices to begin with. Firstly, if we just look at the gas prices, so what we can see is a graph here of the last 6 months, as always, so the price change over that period. And then on the left-hand side, you can see the week-to-week price changes broken down into a 12, 24, and 36-month period. So what we can see is really it has been little movement week to week, and honestly, 12-month period has moved ever so slightly, 0.3% down. And then we can see a slight changing shift with the 24 and 36 months increasing ever so slightly at 0.5 and 1.7%. Again, really, the markets have certainly reduced in volatility over the last couple months, I would say. If we look at the graph there in the March and April period, we were seeing quite high levels of volatility. It has now really consolidated into the May and June period now. Power's much to change. In fact, it's probably moved even less week to week. So 12-month period has barely moved at all. It's down 0.1%. And your 24 and 36 months are seeing very gradual increases week to week. Again, the trend is exactly the same for gas as it is for power in terms of that market movement on the graph. So what were the key events last week? I'm just going to run through 3 of them. So first, we had renewed lockdown measures in China, which started to cast fears on consumption. So just to set the scene, China recently has been in quite a strict lockdown for a good 2 months or so. Well, many of their major cities have been anyway. They, as of a couple of weeks ago, started to roll back those restrictions at quite a quick pace. So that was very bullish on the markets. Didn't quite expect it to unlock those restrictions as quick as they did. But as quick as they unlocked them, they're now kind of reinstating some of those as the COVID alert levels are raised in some of the cities, including Beijing. So that has been bearish on oil over the last week. There have been other factors which have kept oil prices up. But given where China are the largest consumer in the world of many commodities, the markets pay close attention to their demand forecasts. So any indication of them going back into a lockdown, or at least a partial lockdown, is no doubt going to reduce their demand levels and could weigh down prices. So that was something to take note of last week. In terms of a one-off incident, the biggest thing last week was when we had the update of a fire and damage at the US Freeport at the LNG terminal. Definitely the most eventful period last week that caused quite a big spike in prices initially. So the Freeport LNG terminal accounts for around 20% of the LNG processing in the US, and where Europe have become much more dependent on LNG over the years, and certainly over the last year, given the political unrest in Russia, that has placed a lot of fear into the markets. At the moment, it's not speculated, but confirmed it will be around 3 weeks downtime at least, was the official wording. So whether it is just 3 weeks or longer is key to that, really. But that did shift markets higher. Towards the end of that day, it did ease off a bit as fears were not as profound as first realised. The impact is going to be around 13 to 15 LNG vessels not being delivered during that period now. So in terms of volume, it is significant, but the market has corrected its initial jump up there. And thirdly and finally, the EU passed its 50% gas storage landmark. So this is kind of a target that's been earmarked for a while. At what point will we reach 50% and what time of the year? The fact we've reached that at the start of June is very positive. It means at current replenishment rates, we would hit the 80% target well ahead of the November deadline. At that rate, you'd probably hit it around September period, so a good 2-month buffer ahead of that. So that's very positive news. So a couple bearish factors there, but definitely one big bullish factor in the fire and explosion at the LNG terminal. Looking ahead to this week, there's a few things to focus in on. One is an update on the damage and timescale of that Freeport fire. At the moment, 3 weeks is still being quoted, at least, as a reference to timescale. And what will be key is if there's any delay to that at all. So the markets will be paying attention to that. Next is the gas maintenance season is really kicking off now. So summer normally signifies the start of the gas maintenance season. Simply put, demand is lower. So it's a time of year where they can do and schedule in the work required. This year's schedule is greatly reduced from last year. So last year was catching up from the COVID backlog. This year, from what I can see, is a lot less in the calendar. We are seeing some notable periods of maintenance starting to kick in now. So the Norwegian facilities have undergone a few maintenance schedules now, and the Nord Stream 1, apologies, is running at reduced capacity until the 29th of June. So some impact is being seen in the market already there. And then finally, I touched on it last week, that there was speculation that rough storage was going to be talked about bringing back into use. This week, Centrica have already filed applications to reopen the storage facility. So a formal application has been made by Centrica to reopen the storage. It's been 5 years since its closure, and the application is still dependent if it's approved or not. But with the UK trying to become more self-sufficient in this energy crisis, there is a bit of optimism that that will get approved. So whether that's bullish or bearish on the markets, most likely it would be bearish, depending how quickly they can get up and running on terms of timescale. That's something to take note of. But yeah, Centrica have officially filed application for that. That's it in terms of updates to this week. We do always have further information on our website, and we do have a live team you can contact as well between 10 and 12 Monday to Friday. So there's the links and the website URL below. Thank you very much for watching, as always, and I'll see you for next week's update.